What happens when a demonic couple, armed with 5 rifles, a handgun, 5,800 rounds of ammunition, and 7 children, decides to take on the police? In 2007, Shannon went on a violent rampage against his own family at a mall, even threatening and injuring his cousin, which led a judge to issue him a lifetime ban from firearms. They're pinned down. Use the cover to pull them out of there. Since most of the officers had piled into the armored truck, the shooter who had lost his targets switched his aim to the driver, Sean McNamee. Officer, request backup.
伊尔达尔，他告诉接线员自己需要帮助，但话没说完，电话就挂断了。
As
Hello?
bullets
Can I get the
sparked
police here?
constantly against
Okay,
the
what's
windshield,
happening there?
My husband. Please help me.
This officer didn't back down for a second. He directed his team to shine the high-intensity spotlights onto the balcony on the second floor, blinding the shooter and buying precious time to rescue their colleague. Copy that. I'm moving.
岁的香农古登有着长期的家庭暴力历史。
Under a literal hail of bullets, the officers rushed out a second time and hauled Officer Matthew into the vehicle. Officer Sean then maneuvered the armored truck, positioning it to save the medic, Adam, who was lying furthest away. A little more. A little more. Okay, stop. Upper left window. I can see the muzzle flash from the bottom right. He was prohibited from purchasing any weapons, ammunition, or tactical gear. Between 2017 and 2020, 3 of Gooden's ex-girlfriends filed restraining orders, begging the police to protect them from his harassment. What? Finally, all 3 fallen officers were inside. The armored truck began to retreat from the scene while still under heavy fire. Everyone's inside? Are we backing out? To keep his colleagues safe, Officer Sean chose to keep the front of the vehicle facing the shooter, shielding the others as they pulled away. Soon, the armored truck successfully reached the safety zone. The officers immediately transferred the critically wounded to the ambulances to be rushed to the hospital. We're evacuating now. Where are we going? I just remembered that. Let's head to the staging area. After all the wounded were evacuated, the 10 remaining officers deployed in the distance. Dakota County declared a state of maximum alert. 2 helicopters were dispatched. Reagan Police Department, Clearville Police Department, Rosemont Police Department, and the Dakota County SWAT team were all deployed, rushing from surrounding areas to provide support. Currently, Gooden and his girlfriend Ashley were raising 7 children together. 40 minutes later, about 20 police cars and over 80 officers arrived at the scene. They cleared the entire neighborhood. 3 defensive perimeters were set up outside the suspect's home. Still, wanting to keep the children inside safe, the police chose not to storm the building. Around 6:50 in the morning, the officers outside heard a single gunshot. Then, the whole area fell into a deathly silence. Around 8 o'clock in the morning, the police suddenly received a call from a child saying their father wasn't moving anymore. SWAT teams immediately breached the first floor, evacuating the 7 children and the girlfriend inside. Shortly after, the police sent a surveillance drone into the second floor and officially confirmed that the suspect had taken his own life. Finally, at the scene, the police found a Franklin Armory AR-15 tactical rifle and a Palmetto State Armory manufactured PSA-15 tactical rifle, a PSA Saber 15 tactical rifle, and 1 manufactured by Heckler & Koch, an HK-416 short-barreled tactical rifle, a Precision International 80 sniper rifle equipped with a high magnification tactical long-range scope, a Glock 17, and a Glock 19. 60 magazines fully loaded with rifle ammunition. 3 were from Gooden's previous relationships, 2 were from Ashley's previous relationships, and 2 were theirs together. 6 unopened cases of ammo, totaling about 5,000 rounds. Most of them were high-powered .300 Blackout tactical rifle rounds. Golden's main weapon, the FBI tactical rifle, even had an aftermarket binary trigger installed. A single pull of the trigger would fire 2 rounds. To handle the high-powered ammunition, Golden had fitted the rifle with a heavy-duty .300 Blackout-specific barrel. This allowed the FMI-15 to easily reach the firepower of a fully automatic, top-tier AK-47. The effect of the gunfire sounded roughly like this. You could say that after these modifications, this FS-15 could punch through standard body armor like it was just regular clothing. Yet, how could someone like Gooden, who had been banned from owning guns since 2007, get his hands on such terrifying weaponry? By tracing the serial numbers, police discovered that every single gun had been purchased legally at a gun shop. The buyer was none other than Gooden's girlfriend, Ashley. She had a clean record and could buy firearms in Minnesota without any issue. After trying out a few models at the store, Gooden transferred tens of thousands of dollars to Ashley, tasking her with buying a massive stockpile of guns and ammo for him. According to divorce court documents, the shop's security footage captured the entire process of Gooden coaching his girlfriend on which guns to buy.
That we're standing.
The pair then used their family vehicle to shuttle the weapons home in several trips. At home, Gooden was obsessed with his new arsenal, even going so far as to teach his 5-year-old son how to handle a gun. Right up until the moment they were met with gunfire, the police had no idea such a deadly cache of weapons was stashed inside that house. In the end, using modified weapons loaded with high-powered ammunition, Gooden unleashed 130 rounds on the officers, striking 6 of them. 2 officers were grazed by shrapnel, while Sergeant Adam was more seriously wounded, taking 2 shots to his right arm and 1 to his lower abdomen. Before hitting the ground, Sergeant Adam managed to fire back 5 rounds, striking Gooden in the thigh. This effectively limited Gooden's mobility. After undergoing multiple surgeries, Sergeant Adam was discharged and began leave to recover from the traumatic event. The other 3 officers were not so lucky. Officer Paul Elmstrand was shot in the head, and despite all attempts to save him, he tragically died in the war. He was only 27. Negotiation specialist Officer Matthew Rouge was hit when a bullet pierced his body armor, striking his heart. He also died in the line of duty. Was a master technician in bodywork, paint, and tires at a well-known local auto repair chain, earning over $150,000 a year, and owned a spacious 300-square-meter home. He was only 27 years old. Paramedic Adam Finseth was struck by a 3rd volley of gunfire while attempting to save Officer Matthew. The bullet entered his abdomen through the lower left chest wall, perforating multiple organs. He succumbed to blood loss and tragically passed away. He was only 40 years old. September 10th, 2025.
打得头都不敢抬，但是躲在这里和死也没区别。
Although Ashley denied conspiring with Gooden to ambush the police, the evidence chain linking her to the purchase of the weapons was airtight. A federal grand jury found Ashley guilty of acting as a straw purchaser for firearms. Due to the severity of the crime, she was sentenced to 45 months in prison, followed by 2 years of supervised release. The gun shop involved, Model Gun Shop, cooperated fully with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives investigation following the incident. Based on the protections of the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, prosecutors will not be filing charges against them. On February 28, 2024, the entire Minnesota Police and Fire Department community held a state funeral for Officer Paul, Officer Matthew, and Paramedic Adam. This true story residence.
There's no hole here. No hole? No hole. I'm good. Okay. Look to somebody else. All right? I'm good. Are you good? Hey.
It was the largest and most heartbreaking funeral in the history of Minnesota. Thousands of police and fire departments from across the country sent representatives, with 7,600 people attending to honor the three heroes. Officer Paul Elmstrand graduated from the University of Minnesota Crookston in 2018 with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He joined the Burnsville Police Department in 2019 and quickly became a backbone of the force. At the time of the incident, he hadn't been married long and left behind two young children, one 2 years old, the other only 5 months old. Officer Matthew Rouge graduated from Minnesota State University, Mankato, in 2018, also majoring in criminal justice. In April of 2020, he and his childhood friend, who was also at the scene, Officer Pete Miller, swore their oaths together to join the force. Both of them, along with Paul, were assigned as protégés to Sergeant Adam, beginning their careers in law enforcement.
Empire from
Previously, Ashley had no criminal record. With the help of the best lawyers in Minnesota, a judge ruled that Gooden provided a stable environment. As an all-around rising star on the force, Matthew soon passed the rigorous selection process to join the crisis negotiation team. That night, Matthew spent 3.5 hours talking to the suspect alone, desperately trying to protect the children inside the house. After being shot for the first time, Matthew didn't retreat for a second. He tried to save his good friend and colleague, Paul, only to be struck again. He breathed his last breath while in the arms of his best friend, Pete, right there on the front line. Adam Finseth was a veteran of the 101st Airborne Division. After retiring from service following his deployment to Iraq, Finseth earned his paramedic certification and joined the Burnsville Fire Department. Because of his rigorous military background and medical skills, Finseth was soon selected to join the Dakota County SWAT team as a tactical medic. During his time in that role, Finseth saved over a dozen officers and civilians from the line of fire. Finseth left behind 2 children.
smoke where you can grab the rifle too.
Moving forward, the Minnesota and National Law Enforcement and Fire Associations will cover all living expenses and full tuition for the families of the fallen on the day of the funeral.
Stop! Back up! Back up! Back up!
So the judge awarded full custody of all the children to Gooden. It seemed that a high-quality American middle-class man like Gooden, Sergeant Adam, having just undergone surgery, arrived on the scene in bandages to pay his final respects to the 2 excellent protégés and colleagues he had mentored himself. Sergeant Adam believes that as their leader, failing to bring them home safe that night is the greatest pain he will ever carry. I was lucky enough to watch these 2 officers grow from rookies with bright eyes and endless drive, one who didn't even know what a getaway vehicle was, and the other who hadn't yet learned how to talk someone down in the middle of a crisis, into officers so skilled at their craft that one was already ready for a promotion and the other had just taken charge of a scene for hours as a crisis negotiator. Elmstrand, Rouge, Finseth, we were fighting for those 7 children, and there was nothing more honorable than that. Rest in peace, brothers. In May of 2024, the first 12 officers to arrive on the scene were awarded the Medal of Valor. Sergeant Adam was awarded the department's highest individual honor, the Medal of Honor. The 3 fallen officers and firefighters were posthumously awarded the Purple Heart. Their names have been etched forever onto the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington in gratitude for their sacrifice. Had plenty of money to support 7 kids. With this basic understanding, the police dispatched 3 officers to the scene to investigate. Heroes who uphold justice and peace know no borders. At the end of this video, let us pay tribute to the heroes who heroically sacrificed their lives in this case. A final salute to the 2 fallen officers and the firefighter. We are standing at the scene. The 3 officers entered the house through the garage and discovered.
Stop. Need help! Cody! Get him in!
That Gooden had locked his girlfriend, Ashley, and the 7 children in an upstairs room. The police immediately escalated the situation to the highest level. At 2:15 in the morning, a crisis negotiator, 3 medics from the Burnsville Fire Department's Tactical Emergency Medical Team, 6 law enforcement officers.
Top left window! Get in here!
An armored vehicle and 6 SWAT officers from Dakota County arrived and surrounded the house.
There's definitely top left last time. We have 7 kids in there. We cannot shoot back right now. Corner of the top left window. 7 children inside.
Soon after, 27-year-old Burnsville police negotiator, Officer Matthew Rouge, shielded by 2 officers with ballistic shields and 3 others, began negotiating with Gooden. However, what none of these officers knew was that a deadly ambush was about to unfold.
Everybody's in. Are we going that way or backwards? Back, straight back.
During the negotiations, you were told to come downstairs with your hands up, do not hold anything at 5:25 in the morning. The negotiations had been going on for 3.5 hours. Gooden kept giving half-hearted responses, showing no intention of surrendering. Hello everyone, I'm DePeng. Today's case takes place in the city of Burnsville, Minnesota.
Somebody grab his leg! Somebody grab his leg! Grab Vincent! Got Vincent. So Vincent, cover, guys.
All the officers were in a state of extreme mental focus. By now, they were exhausted. More officers arrived to rotate in, but just then, and this is what I need to tell you about Shannon. When you come down the stairs, you will see this small entrance that leads from the front door into your kitchen. We are standing right here. The perpetrator seized the moment when the officers were off guard and suddenly opened fire from the second floor with a rifle, raining bullets down on the officers below. Officer Matthew Rouge and Paul Elmstrand, who was wearing a body camera, were hit and fell immediately. Officer Adam Medlicott, the shield bearer in front, took multiple rounds directly to his shield. This is from his body camera view. Now, we are standing here. The force of the bullets almost blew the shield out of his hands, but unfortunately, Officer Alex Wist could not protect his teammate and was forced to make an emergency retreat from the room. At 1:50 in the morning on February 18th, 2024, the Burnsville Police Department received a 911 call. At this time, another shield bearer in the room, who was also the on-scene commander, Sergeant Adam Medlicott, was also hit by multiple rounds. This is from his body camera view. Then we are standing here. Here we can see that after Sergeant Adam was shot, blood splattered onto his shield. Even after being shot, Sergeant Adam relied on incredible willpower and reflexes to return fire, successfully driving the shooter back, which bought his colleagues a moment to catch their breath. Sergeant Adam then crawled out of the room to safety. Now, let's look through the perspective of Officer Pete Miller at the sheer devastation of the first round of this encounter. Here, we can see the positions of Sergeant Adam, Officer Matthew, and Officer Paul inside the room. As you head downstairs, you'll see this small entryway leading from the front door into your kitchen. We're standing right here. The shooter held the high ground and opened fire suddenly. All the officers were caught in a disadvantageous position, and one after another, they went down. The suspect's rifle rounds tore through the walls with ease, creating a deadly threat for the officers outside as well. The caller was 35-year-old Ashley Durthall. She told the dispatcher she needed help, but the line went dead before she could finish. At this point, several officers outside dragged the wounded Officer Paul out to provide emergency aid. He had been shot in the head and was in critical condition. Sergeant Adam and the crisis negotiator, Matthew, were also hit in the arm and abdomen. Even though they were still able to move, they needed to stop the bleeding immediately. Yet, even with the situation this dire, 2 more officers were still trapped inside the room, completely unable to get out. This is the body cam footage from inside the room, showing Officer Cody and Officer Daniel trapped right where we're standing. 2 shots rang out. This is Officer Cody's body cam. We can see Sergeant Adam crouching down to provide cover for his colleagues behind him. At that moment, as shots were fired, Officer Cody and Officer Daniel dove behind the cabinets on the left side of the room. The shooter had overwhelming firepower. The 2 officers had 0 visibility and didn't dare make a move. They could only stay low and scout the area cautiously. Just then, it seemed the shooter spotted them and opened fire again. "Hey, can you send the police here? What's going on? My husband, please, help me. We have to get out of here." The 2 officers were pinned down, unable to even lift their heads, but staying here was as good as death. So, Cody and Daniel waited for the shooter to reload and made a desperate sprint for it. That's how the 2 officers managed to escape. At this point, 8 officers were huddled together behind the wall, as you can see here. Here, you can see Officer Matthew Lugo and the senior paramedic Adam Finseth working to save the life of the critically wounded Officer Paul. During the rescue, Officer Pete realized his colleague Matthew had been hit in the chest, but his bulletproof vest stopped most of the impact. Officer Matthew didn't have a second to feel the pain. He adjusted his vest and went right back to saving his colleague. The officer asked, "It didn't penetrate, right? I just felt the impact." "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "Is there a hole?" "No hole. I'm good. No problem. You go check on the others. I'm fine. Are you okay?" "Hey, are you okay?" "Yeah, I think I'm fine." The officers kept calling dispatch for emergency support. The dispatcher tried calling back, but no one answered ever again. It was a crisis. They needed more SWAT teams and snipers on the scene to rescue the 12 officers trapped there. Meanwhile, some officers who had just arrived at the perimeter could only watch the scene from a distance, not daring to get any closer. And just then, the 2nd floor window opened. "Where is the ambulance? Who's working? Stay sharp." "Soldi, Adam." The suspect fired again, using the high ground of the 2nd floor to once again suppress the officers with heavy fire. During this volley, Officer Pete watched in horror as his good friend Matthew was hit again. Adam Finseth was also hit at the same time and collapsed right in front of him. "Give me cover." Was the shot from the window? I don't know where the shot came from. He's shooting. He has a weapon. Police then pulled Ashley's records and discovered her boyfriend, 38-year-old Shannon Gooden, had a long history of domestic violence. "Do not threaten the children. If we go in, we'll be shot. There are 7 kids inside right now." The man inside hadn't made any threats toward the children, even though he was surrounded by them. He said he felt great. "You are putting them in a worse situation. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it." Faced with the suspect's insane gunfire, and even though they were pushed to the brink of disaster, the rescuers kept the 7 children and the woman inside in mind. Because they didn't dare fire back for fear of hitting the hostages, the number of officers shot had risen to 6. 3 of them had life-threatening injuries. They had to evacuate the scene immediately. Since there weren't enough police vehicles, they needed to prioritize the wounded. The incident commander ordered some of the officers to evacuate on foot to a safe location first. Several officers then volunteered to make a frantic sprint on foot out of the shooter's ambush zone. Thankfully, the shooter didn't fire. The 3 officers successfully reached a safe area just as an ambulance arrived on the scene to help. When the rescuers saw the situation, they realized it was a disaster and rushed to make the ambulance turn back. It dated back to 2004 when he was detained for assaulting a former girlfriend. "Stop, stop, stop, back up, stop, stop." Attention, attention, stand. At attention. The officers were screaming for the ambulance to get out of there, and sure enough, the moment it pulled away, the shooter opened fire again. "There's another one coming. Should we go back? I really want to go. I really want to go. The constant, heavy gunfire meant the officers couldn't even begin to treat the wounded. Even their most experienced medic had been taken down. After dragging Paul, who was the worst off, into the vehicle, there were still 2 more colleagues lying out there. The moment any officer poked their head out, they were being targeted by sniper fire. They couldn't coordinate a rescue. The situation was absolutely dire. Where the hell is he firing from? Officer Daniel grabbed flashbangs and smoke grenades from his patrol car and rushed back into the kill zone. Watching his colleagues' blood spill out as time ticked away, he was desperate.